Come, come, grace my palm with silver. Come for your reading. Come to find the knowledge that you seek. No? Yes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to go over 6 different things that you need to bear in mind when you go for any type of divination reading. It can be tarot cards, oracle cards, crystal ball readings, tea leaf readings, coffee readings, rune readings, whatever it is. This is something to bear in mind for all of these. So, let's begin. Number 1, the first thing that you should keep in mind when going for a reading is that it is reflective of this moment in time. So it's reflective of whenever you go for a reading. So it might be completely reflective of what's going on in your life around you. It could be stuff that happened that day. It could be stuff that happened last week that's coming up, events that are going on, what's influencing them, yada, yada, yada. But you may not get too far out. Whereas if you were, it also depends on the spread that's being done. To be fair, it does depend on this type of spread that's being done. Next, the other thing connected to that is that you can go for a reading a month later, 2 months later, a week later, and maybe you get slightly different information. You might see a progression. You might see the same cards roughly, or the same message. If it's a week later, maybe a couple months later, you notice a different reading or a different message. This is for readings whether you're doing them for yourself or for others, or you are the person that is going to get a reading done. So please bear that in mind, that it's reflective of this point in time. Number 2, you don't get the reading you want, you get the reading you need. So this can be a little bit dodgy for some people, and I don't know if you can pick up the dryer in the background, but we're going to let it go for right now. I got clothes in the dryer. We'll deal with it. The 4 things people roughly ask about are health, relationships, career, and money. Career and money might kind of go hand in hand, but they can also be different. So roughly those are the 4 categories that people ask about. It might be romantic relationships, it might be acknowledging relationships with family. So what tends to happen is one of a few different scenarios can play out. If someone has a lot of things going on in their head and they come in for a general reading, that general reading may touch on all of the things that have concern in their life, and they may get a little bit of information about everything. Or that general reading might focus in on exactly what is the most pressing thing that they are worried about, or the thing that your guides, the reader's guides, the universe has deemed the most important thing for you to focus on. Now, another thing is you may come in with a specific question or a list of questions, depending on the style of reading. And you get those answers. Now, you kind of notice that those 4 things are intertwined. Your health, your relationships, money, and career, a lot of them will kind of overlap. They're interwoven. So it might be you're asking about your health and you are getting corresponding information to work, to your career. Or you're asking about your career and getting corresponding information about your relationships and how it might be affecting those things, which are then affecting your health. Even though you may come in with a specific question, you might notice overarching information that presents itself. Fine, as long as the general question is answered. On very rare occasions, this might happen, where you come in with a question, maybe about your career, maybe about your love life, or whatever, and you get a completely different answer. The reason is that this is what you need to hear. You need to hear the information that is being presented to you. You may not want to, but you need to hear it. And that is something that is important to denote. Is that always going to happen? Probably not, no. Generally, I have found that if people are asking a question, they get the information that they're asking for. Very rarely will this happen. This will probably happen where the cards or the crystal ball or the runes go rogue, is if this is an existing problem that either you are unaware of, and it is important that you are aware of it, you have been ignoring it, and spirit is now like, pay attention. You need to focus on this. We're not going away. We're not dropping it. We're not letting you ignore it. This is what you have to focus on. Now, something like that could be that there's some kind of connection. So maybe you're asking about a work, advancement in career or whatever, and you keep getting cards that are related to relationships. Whether we'll say familial relationships in this place. And the cards, no matter how they're drawn, if the person tries to redo the spread or whatever, keeps coming out with familial relationships. Maybe some information about work, but this is what it's focusing on. You go home and find out you have messages from family describing problems that are coming up, or a niece or nephew or a child comes home and explains situation. This might also be another reason why the cards go rogue, is that there is something coming up that you are again unaware of, or you are cursily aware of, or something that is going on in someone else's life that they're going to bring to you that you need to be aware of. Because it might be that once this is addressed, should you go for another reading and ask that same question, now you've got an answer, because whatever was going on and was about to hit you like a Mack truck has been cleared away and has been addressed. So those are some reasons why the cards, the tea leaves, the runes, whatever, will go rogue. There's something coming up. There's something you're blatantly ignoring that may actually affect what you're asking about. So if you're asking about your health and you're getting all cards about your career, well, if your career is directly affecting your health, but you're not acknowledging it, it's the universe, it's spirit, it's God, whoever, trying to redirect your attention. Again, this doesn't really happen that often. It would only be, I think, in really, I don't want to say extreme situations, but it would be in situations where it is important, or your guides have been trying to reach out to you and they've been trying to get your attention to this subject, and you've just kind of been waving it off. So now they're going to just slap you in the face with it. You want to ignore us? Fine. You can ignore us, but you can't ignore this. Or this. You're paying for this, so we're going to make sure that you listen. And my crystal, I don't have a stand for my little crystal ball. It's just going to roll off the dresser. Okay. Number 3. Now this is connected to the second thing on asking questions. Sometimes we want to know about situations, or we want to know about the people in our lives. How do we help them? I want to move and find a house. Where should I go? I'm trying to meet someone. Where should I go? What should I do? When am I going to meet them? There's all kinds of questions. Maybe you have a sick person in your life and you want to know, are they going to be okay? How can I help? There's family issues. What do I do? How do I help? And sometimes what happens is, the best example I can give you is in rune reading, because there's a rune called the Veered, and it's a blank stone. And basically it means it's an unknown. There are forces, there is information that is unknown to you. There are situations that are unknown. Maybe things haven't been decided yet. I honestly don't know what that looks like in tarot. I don't, because all of the cards to me speak to something different. And I don't really know what the card that would be like. I don't know. Really don't know what that would look like. It would also be up to the interpretation of the reader who's using oracle cards, tarot cards, tea leaf reading, or even crystal ball reading. They may not see anything. Hydromancy, flat water, no images, no nothing. There's going to be a way that either your guides communicate to you if you're asking about yourself, or the way that the reader's guides answer them. Nope, We don't know. It's not like we just don't have an answer right now, or this person's not meant to know. The sassy answer is that someone comes in. Usually, this is with family situations. My kids are in trouble, or there's something going on with my son. How do I help? There's something going on with my daughter. I don't like, my daughter and their boyfriend are not getting along, their husband, whatever. There's stuff going on with the grandkids. How do I help? And I can honestly tell you from experience, from doing mediumship readings and doing, actually no, it wasn't a mediumship reading, from doing a shamanic reading for someone and doing a shamanic journey for myself, the way it presents from a medium perspective is that maybe you get a curtain that closes, a veil that comes down, everything grayscales out, and the general answer is, it's none of your business. You're not supposed to know. We had something was brought to my attention during Medium Circle one time, and it was about some of my cousins. And I told my mom, and my mom's like, well, is there anything we should do? Maybe we should do something. I'm like, well, I did a shamanic journey to the realm of the ancestors. And their basic answer was, it's not your problem. Don't get involved. Don't try to fix it. It's not your problem. They have to figure it out on their own. Okay, cool. That is essentially what this will mean sometimes. You will get these cards where it's like, not your problem. None of your business. You're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to help. They are adults. They will figure this out. And some people don't want to hear that. But spirit doesn't play around. They will tell you things. 4. I think we're on 4. My mom came in to ask me something, so I got distracted and forgot where I was. This is, you're going to hear things that you don't want to hear. Why? Because you need to hear them. There's no other reason for it. People will say, "Oh, I didn't like the reading I got, so I just reshuffled the cards." And we all do that from time to time, but then you'll notice a theme. The same cards, the same message will keep coming up because you can't avoid it. It's something you need to know. It's something you need to hear. You're not going to be able to get away from ignoring it. You can't. You need to hear it. And sometimes it might be an acknowledgement of a situation. It might be a warning of something to come. Or maybe it's trying to draw your attention to something to make you aware. Hey, pay attention. Pay attention to this situation. There's more going on here than meets the eye. And make sure you're not caught in the aftermath, or make sure if you're aware of this to steer clear of it. We're trying to help you. It might be an acknowledgement that a situation is not working out the way you want it to, and you need to come to terms with that. I don't know what that would be, but it's a thing. So you're gonna get information you don't want to hear, and sometimes it might be the way it is delivered. Some readers will make sure that they try to soften the blow. Some card decks, mostly oracle decks, there are some tarot decks, will kind of soften the meaning of the card. They will redirect the meaning. You may also get a reader that is particularly blunt, or in some cases, if it's a mediumship reading, the medium might take a little while, or the shaman might take a little while if they're channeling or they're talking to the other side, and they're kind of going back and forth because the way it's being presented and the way they're trying to explain it, or the way they are trying to deliver it, is not the same thing. Now, normally you don't use a lot of swearing in readings. You generally try not to, but it might be in this case. Someone is going, you need to get your shit together, all right? And the person's going, is there a different way for me to say that? Is there a softer way for me to say that? How can I deliver this in such a way? And it's like, no, this is how we want you to say it. It could be that you were drawn to this specific reader because you needed someone that was a little bit more direct and a little more blunt, and someone that's not going to soften things quite as much. Or it might be that is the only message that comes across that way because it's something that is not connecting. You're ignoring it. You're not listening. You're unaware. More often than not, you're probably ignoring. Um, or it might just be that, there's stuff going on. It's like, we're trying to get your attention. Listen. Hey, listen. Hey, listen. 10 points to Gryffindor, to anyone that gets that reference. Or maybe I'll make it 20 points. Maybe to go to Ravenclaw. We'll see. House of your choice. But you see where this is going. You will be sometimes presented with information you don't want to hear, but again, this connects to number 1. You don't get the reading you want, you get the reading you need, and you need to hear it. That is another thing to bear in mind. Now, connected to all of this is our 5th thing. You have free will. And that also connects to, if you don't like the outcome of a reading, you can change it. You have the free will to change these things. Future outcomes are not written in stone. Again, see number 1. It's the energy of the moment. So what does that mean? If you like the outcome, try to stay on the path that you're on in order to achieve that outcome. If you don't like that outcome, try to figure out a way to change it. Now, that being said, again, energy of the moment. It might also be that there are factors at play that you have no control over. You can only control yourself. So if you're up for a job interview, or you're up for a promotion, or you're trying to get the house, the apartment, maybe you're trying to have a child, you're looking for a pet, you're trying to adopt, all of a sudden, the cards are saying, yeah, we think you've got this. And then all of a sudden it falls through. Well, either the timing was off, the energy changed, or there are other factors that came into play that at that moment in time were not at play. And that changed the outcome. So again, you can only control yourself. If there are factors in the greater wide world that are at play in this situation, you don't have control over that. You only control your own emotions, your own actions, and your own reactions. So please remember that. Now, but again, if you're getting an outcome that you don't like, do what you can to change it. Take different steps. Try and figure out what you need to do to change it. You can ask, provided you hopefully have enough time, you can ask the reader to draw extra cards to be like, how can I course correct? I don't know if I agree with this, or I don't know if I like this outcome. What do I do to change it? So maybe it might be that it's... okay, we'll go with the Tower card, which is upheaval. It's basically like your life is falling down around you. It's severe upheaval. And you might go, well, I don't quite understand where that's coming from. How do I fix it? I don't like that. What do I have to do? And they may give you cards that'll be like, that will explain it to you, or it might be like, well, there's an unknown factor. This might be another situation where there are unknowns. So this is an unknown outcome. This is the way things go right now. This is the outcome. Things might change and change the outcome. So I know that it makes it all very kind of not wishy-washy, but it gives... I don't know how to explain it, but it does give that sense that you're still in control. But there are variables. Life is variable. Humans are wild cards, like it or not. I remember my manager saying to me, well, what if I don't like the outcome? You can change the future. Yeah, but what if, you can change your future. You can change your stars, William. It doesn't, you have the ability, you have the free will to change it. Now, by that same idea, if you are the reader, please also bear in mind that depending on where you are, maybe you're at a psychic fair, maybe someone has hired you to do readings for a night or whatever, bear in mind that some people that are coming to you, they're just coming to you for shits and giggles. They're not coming because they have any faith in this. They don't believe in any of it. They're just here for the fun. Take them with a grain of salt. Still be professional. Still do your reading. You might make them a convert, or they're just going to laugh you off and say it's a bunch of puppycock and go about their way, pay you, hopefully, and then go on. So as a reader, please bear that in mind that in certain situations you may just deal with people who think you've got nothing but hogwash and these are just a bunch of pretty cards with messages that you're interpreting and they don't mean anything. That's fine. People are allowed to have their own opinion. I mean, it's their money. They can spend it however they want. If they're trying to kill time, hey, you're making it what, 10, 20, 15, but depending on where you are, what your wages are. More than likely, I feel like this is going to be in a more social setting. Like, I don't honestly think that someone that doesn't believe in this is going to come to you and pay, $50 for a reading, whether it's, 40 half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, whatever your pay is, for the hell of it. Let's be honest. You're going to encounter those people out in the wild. So just be prepared. Um, be prepared that some people they're just there for the fun. That's all there is to it. I think number 6. This isn't so much about something to expect in readings. This is if you are doing readings for yourself or you are the person getting the reading done. So you're the client or the querent that has come to sit before the reader and you keep getting the same cards, or you notice one or two there's one card that always comes out, or there's a couple of cards that always come out, and you don't quite know why. Why do I keep getting this card? I'm gonna give you an example. I didn't grab it. I have the Archangel Michael Sword of Light deck. It's actually one of my favorite Oracle card decks. For the longest time, I would pull the card, be true to yourself or be the real you or something like that. And I would look at it and I go, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. And not only that, this correlates to this as well. When you keep getting similar themes in readings. So that's the deck I have. I host a monthly card readings with a group of ladies, and I would get similar cards in the reading. I'd get, be true to yourself, be the real you. And I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. I don't understand. I understand what the card is saying, but I don't understand how it applies. Where am I doing this? What am I doing this in? Eventually, I stopped pulling it, although I do think I pulled it fairly recently. But in those situations, you are 100% allowed to ask, can you please pull me another card for clarification, or another couple cards? I keep getting this, and I don't know why, and I don't know what to do with it. I just don't know. It's okay. You can, especially once the reading is done, if you've got questions on specific cards, you can ask the reader, how does this apply? What does this card mean? Can you draw me some extra cards for this one card? And at that point, the reader, or if you're doing this for yourself and you notice a pattern, pull out a different deck. Keep the cards there and pull out a secondary deck. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's tarot cards, oracle cards, affirmation cards, whatever you got to use. Pull out another deck and see what information comes up that way. Sometimes what happens is you keep pulling the same cards, and you know exactly what they're referring to. You know exactly what they're trying to tell you. You know what they're trying to say. Maybe you just don't know how to go about it. So maybe you keep getting cards that are talking about change or taking action. You know what you have to do, but maybe on some level you're afraid. Understandable, depending on what the situation is. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough information. Maybe you feel like, I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to get there. I'm missing steps. I'm missing pieces of information. Again, ask for extra cards to be pulled. Same deck, different deck, whatever. To see if you can get more information. Like, I know I have to do this thing. How am I supposed to do it? Now, hopefully the spread will explain that. But maybe not. Especially if you do it, the readings we'll do cards. You get one card from each person's deck and they go through. And sometimes you'll get a lot of the cards saying the same thing, but it's not providing extra information. The other reason why this happens is that you need to take that first step. You keep pulling the same cards, you keep getting the same information because this is the information that's being provided to you by your guides. You need to be the person to take that step, whatever it is. You have to be willing to take that first step because they're not going to give you any more information until you do. You may ask for clarification, but they're not going to give you the next step until you do the first step. So that's that. Now, what do you do if you have similar themes? I kind of touched on this already. Same deal. Sometimes you keep getting the same theme and you're like, I don't know what you're asking of me. This happened one time. I was on a retreat and we did this reading style. And this one woman, almost all of her cards mentioned change. Didn't say what kind of change, just change. Change. But there was no clarification on, was it in her relationships? Was it in her family? Was it in her career? Was it just overall change in every aspect of life? No. Nothing. So in those situations, you can try to do a different spread and be like, okay, set the intention of, you're telling me change is coming or I need to change. What? Please expand and see what you get. You may get something, you may not. Again, similar themes, you know what you got to do. You got to be willing to take that step, because once you do, maybe a month or 2 months from now, when you do that next reading or you go for your next reading, all of a sudden the cards have opened up and now you've got more information because you started to take those first few steps. You've gotten the ball rolling. Maybe you haven't completely completed what you need to do, but you've gotten the ball rolling enough that they're like, okay, cool. Now that you've done that, here's the next step or so. Here's more information. Go for it. They're not going to let up until you do what they tell you to do. They're spirit's a little pushy like that. Oh, you have free will, so you can ignore it. Doesn't matter how pushy they get. You can technically ignore it. You can just be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this. Okay. You can 100% do that. It may not always be to your benefit. It's because sometimes when we try to sidestep what spirit is trying to tell us, and we do something else that is not in our highest good, that is not on our highest path, things happen. And it's kind of like, it's not karma, it's not punishment, but you're definitely going to try, they're definitely going to try and redirect you. Or be like, fine, that's what you want to do? Okay, we will work with this and see where it gets us. So everybody's path is going to be different. Everyone's road is different. The road is a very windy road. It's very windy with many twists and turns and pivots and backtracks and whatnot. So no one's path is straight. It'd be very dull if it was. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by. I hope this helps you, and I do hope that this clarifies some things. If you have had readings done and just have noticed stuff, whether you're doing them for yourself or you're doing them from others, maybe you do readings for people and you've had questions come up and you're not sure how to explain it. Hopefully this will help you give some explanations out. So, until we meet again, my friends, take care. Bye.